Somebody asked me recently to do a walk around video on my car, so I thought now would be a good time to update you guys with some info on it. The car started life as an 85 GT. It was originally a 5-speed car. It was non-AC, had power windows, power locks, cruise control, and a sunroof. I did end up replacing the roof skin on the car because the sunroof started leaking, and I'm not really a big fan of sunroofs or T-tops, so I just went ahead and put a top on it off of a non-sunroof car. When I got it, it was kind of a stripped out, half completed drag car rolling chassis, and most of the good GT stuff that was on it was already gone. So I put it back together and just used it as my year-round daily driver until I decided to start modifying it for drag racing. And I, parked it in the winters. Basically, it's been built as my version of a factory stripper LX model. Like if the factory was building stock Eliminator Fox bodies, this is kind of how they would have built it. And it does have parts from a bunch of different year Foxes. It does have a cowl hood, and it has a tubular bumper. And I also deleted the rear spoiler on the hatch, the factory spoiler, because I really like that look. The car's painted either like Krylon or Duplicolor or Rust-Oleum, I don't even remember. Semi-gloss black. It's definitely not a show car. It's a 20-footer for sure. It has weld wheels on it. It's been converted to 5 lugs. It's got skinnies on the front, and it's got 15 by 10 with a 6.5-inch back spacing wheel on the back, and it features Nitto 555 NT 275 60 R15s. When I'm at the track, I run a Mickey Thompson 26 by 10 slick. I love the stance of the car. I think it has a great stance. The chassis features mostly Team Z stuff. It's got their K-member, front control arms, their camber caster plates, and their bump steer kit. It has, on the front, it has strange coilovers with 14-inch by 110 front springs, which really help the front of the car rise up when I launch. And it has 10-way adjustable struts, which I leave set on full loose all the time. It has stock Fox brakes on it. The rear suspension has Team Z upper and lower double adjustable control arms with solid rod ends. Their Team Z rear springs and a Team Z anti-roll bar. It has QA1 Stalker Star adjustable rear shocks. Has factory upper and lower torque boxes that have been pretty heavily reinforced. Maximum full-length subframe connectors, which got a really great deal on those from somebody on Craigslist. The 8.8 housing has been braced. The axle tubes are welded. It's got aluminum upper bushings. It has a spool. Has 31 spline axles, C-clip eliminators, and runs 456 gears. So it gets out pretty good. It's got an aluminum drive shaft and a Stifler's trans mount and drive shaft loop too. So the stock tank is a Wild Rides. It has a Wild Rides sump on it. Let me get a shot of that for you guys. There you go. There's that. It has a Holley black fuel pump on it and a 3/8-inch fuel line. I know they say that the fuel pump and that should be like the same height as the outlet for the tank, but I've been running it that way for a while, and it hasn't given me any problems, so it's working just fine. Let me open up the back here, take a look inside the hatch. You can see my master kill switch there, the push rod for it. In the hatch here, you can see I built a weight box for it. There's my battery box. I keep about 80 pounds in the weight box, and I just made that out of some scrap material I had laying around. It's welded to this angle iron, and the angle iron's bolted down in 4 places to the subframe. So here, this is the starter solenoid for the car. I moved it to the back of the car to kind of clean up the engine compartment. This is a Cole Hersey, like a heavy duty relay or starter solenoid. Has a mega fuse here to help protect the electrical system. I have a voltage gauge mounted back here, and I can just hit this button real quick and check the voltage on the battery when I want to know what that is. Here's the other side of the master kill. You can see the bracket there. I don't know where I got that bracket from. I ordered it online somewhere, but it's really nice. It just bolts on where the taillight housing bolts on the car, and that's what makes for a nice clean installation. I really like that. Close this up. Let's go around to the passenger side here. So here you can see these are the Scott Rod aluminum door panels. When I first got these, I wasn't super crazy about them, but after being on the car for a while, they've really grown on me, and I think they fit the theme of the car really nice. And you can see the car has manual windows and manual mirrors. I wanted to go with a factory style reproduction door panel, but they were just too expensive in my opinion. So I just went ahead and went with these because they're a much cheaper option, and I turned out really liking them. So it worked out good. You can see the car's got a 8-point, the roll bar started life as a 8-point Wild Rides, kind of one of those hold and weld kits. I did kind of fit some of the roll bar into the car. Let me flip the seat forward. But I took the car to Damn Race Cars in Taylor, Michigan, and they finished the install on the roll bar. They did a couple extra things for me. So this car is actually a 10-point bar. And it went from an 8-point to 10-point because I added these two bars here. It's not a roll cage, it's a roll bar. And these kicker bars go from here, and they go through the floor pan. You can see right there, and you can see right there, and they tie into the upper torque boxes. So they make that nice and rigid. And that you can see this bar right here. I made that. That's basically just like a shock tower brace. I made that out of a piece of round tubing that I had laying around. A couple other features here about the roll bar. I'll show you. It goes through the floor, through the factory drain plug holes, and welds on top of the subframe connector. And then also you can see in that corner there, I kind of boxed that mounting point in. I didn't want to just weld in a flat plate on the floor and weld the bar on top of it. I wanted to do a little something extra. So I kind of plated the corner and then kind of boxed it in. I'm really happy with how that turned out. So another thing I had Damn Race Cars do is weld some angle iron brackets. I'll show you right here. You can see them kind of right here. This is like 1-inch angle iron. There's one here. There's one here, and I mounted my MSD box to that. That made for a nice clean out of the way install. I didn't want to screw the box down to my floor pan and have a bunch of holes in my floor pan, so I went that route, and I'm really happy with it. These are the controls for my shift light, and then you can see back here, get my hand back here, you can see this plate I made, and I have a power lead and a ground lead running from the battery to that. So the MSD can hook directly to the battery through that. At some point, I'd like to maybe put a race pack in the car, and I'll probably mount the bracket for the race pack right here. And then that way that'll be a nice close power source for that. Let's see, I did convert the interior from gray to black. And one thing I did like with the seat is I was trying to find somebody that could reupholster the gray seat that I had with black upholstery. And then I thought, well, let me jump on Marketplace and see if I can find a black passenger seat. So I got on there, and about 5 minutes before I got on Marketplace, this guy had a 79 Mustang that he was upgrading the seats in, and he put this seat on Marketplace up for sale. So I scooped it up for like 50 bucks, and the guy was like close to home too. So that made it nice and easy. I didn't have to worry about getting my seat reupholstered, so that was cool. You can see here, I made a little console switch panel in it, and a cup holder, because you know, Fox Body's got to have cup holders. So I have a cup holder. This switch here is for my overdrive. This switch is for my line lock. This switch is for my trans brake. It's got a B&M Pro Ratchet shifter. You can see my switches and my gauges. I The heater controls are still in the car. I do still have the heater box in the car because I drive the car late in the year. I just parked it the other day, and you can see we already got snow on the ground. This is the day after Thanksgiving. So I do like to have heat in the car. Car has an old school SVO tach, O2 sensor unit here. It's an AFX brand. Works really well. And then you can see the little mount setup I made for the tach and the O2 sensor mount. That and the console little, this was made, was powder coated by Jeff's Powder Coating in Monroe, Michigan. They did a real nice job. The dash was originally gray. I dyed it black. Came out really good. I didn't want to have to take a set of stock vents and take them apart. There's a lot of little parts and pieces in there to try to dye them black. So I just went ahead and went down to the local stereo shop, got this plastic material, made a form, heated it up, bent it a little bit, and glued it in place here to cover up the openings where the original dash vents were. So I'm real happy about that. They came out nice, and there's one on the driver's side too. The car does not have a headliner or sun visors. I'll pick up some sun visors at some point when I can find, some ones in nice shape. I'll throw a set of sun visors in the car. Let's go around to the driver's side and have a look at some stuff. So the car has a Kirky aluminum seat in it, and I used the Team Z bracket kit to put it in. Came out real nice. It makes for a nice clean install. This right here is the mount, I guess you could say, for my crotch strap for my 5-point harness. I got that either from UPR or Steeda. I can't remember which one I got it from, but it wasn't a lot of money. It's actually cheaper to buy one than really to try and make one, so I just went that route. And I'm real happy with that. The car has 5-point Stroud harnesses. I really like those. You can see the door panel here on this side too. Like I said, man, I really like these door panels now that I've lived with them for a while. I really like them. You can see that I got my shift light here. And what I did here is, it gets so sunny at the racetrack sometimes it makes it hard to see the shift light on those really sunny days. So I dug a Coors Light cardboard box out of the garbage and at the track and took some zip ties and basically made a shield. And it's crazy how much of a difference this makes. It makes the shift light super easy to see no matter how bright it is outside. So I'm really happy that we did that. The car's got a Maximum Motorsports manual brake pedal kit in it. I've had a few other things on my cars over the years, and all their stuff is really nice. So I'm really happy with that too. And you can see a fuel pressure gauge out on the cowl. I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hood. I'm gonna set my phone down so I can pop the hood, and then we'll talk some more about that. Okay, so under the hood, you can see, so I made this radiator bracket right here. I didn't like the stock bracket, so I made this instead, and it works really well. It's a nice clean look. I also had that powder coated by Jeff's Powder Coating in Monroe, Michigan. It has just a kind of a Chinese 2-core aluminum radiator that I got from NPD. It has a tubular radiator lower support. It's got a Black Magic electric fan, which works awesome. These are the brackets that came with the kit. And originally they had some holes drilled in them, but I added more holes to lighten it up and give it kind of a racier look. You can kind of see the holes here. This is the bracket for the overflow bottle that didn't have any holes in it at the time. I went ahead and put some holes in that to give it a racy look. The car's got all MSD, ignition stuff on it. It's got a Mazira electric water pump. The water pump is kind of a funny story. The guy I got it from was a diehard Mopar guy, and his wife needed a daily driver, so he bought her this Crown Vic that needed a motor. He bought a motor for it, and the motor had this water pump on it, and with it being his wife's daily driver, he didn't want that water pump on there, and he was a Mopar guy. He had no use for it, so he sold it cheap. He sold it to me for like 50 bucks. So I was really, and it's been working flawless ever since I've had it. It seems like forever. So I upgraded the alternator to a little later model alternator, because we know the Fox body alternators are terrible. It has a Speed Doctor lower alternator mount on it. Over here, back up here by the firewall, you can see the rest of the Maximum Motorsports manual brake kit, the spacer on the firewall. The master cylinder didn't come with my kit. Maybe you can get one with it, I'm not sure, but this was just one I happen to have laying around. It's got a Willwood adjustable proportioning valve, and you can see where the lines come in and out of the fender well here. I'll show you that. This is where I have my line lock mounted out here, kind of out of the way, so you can see it there. That's a, I think it's a Moroso. I got it from Biondo Racing. I think they just put their sticker on it, but I think actually Moroso makes it. So it's got a Maximum Motorsports steering shaft on it with a manual rack. It's got Team Z frame mounts, or I'm sorry, engine mounts, and they drop the engine like 3/4 of an inch. And then I have the engine setting on the rear bolt holes, so it's dropped back like drop down 3/4 of an inch and set back about an inch. It's got full length headers that were built by Damn Race Cars. They also built a and those are stainless, and they also build a 3-inch stainless X pipe. And I'm running Borla mufflers on the car. They're the XR1 Sportsman mufflers. They sound fantastic, man. I love them. You can see the Team Z camber caster plates. As far as the engine goes, the carburetor is a 750 double pumper. It was built by Eric at Vintage Muscle Car Parts. It's got 76 jets on all 4 corners. It's got a carb spacer. It's got a Gen 1 YN Stealth intake. The reason I call it a Gen 1 is they made them for a while, and it's my understanding that they quit making them, and then they started reproducing them again, but it's my understanding that the casting isn't as nice. It's a little rougher. So I kind of refer to that as the Gen 2 style. It's got twisted wedge 185 CNC cylinder heads. They've had a little bit of touch-up work done to them by Total Engine Airflow. The motor has Trent push rods. It's got Harlan Sharp roller rockers. It's got PAC valve springs. The roller rockers are twisted wedge specific. It's got a small hydraulic roller cam that I run solid lifters on, solid roller lifters. I've shifted at about 6,200. It works fine. The motor itself, so the short block in this car, when I first got this car going, I found a motor on Craigslist for 250 bucks. It was a HO forged piston motor. So I bought that, and I ran that in here for a while, the one kind of stock condition. And then I ended up replacing the heads, cam, and intake. But it's the original short block to when I first put the car together, from when the motor was just a $250 Craigslist motor. So, and it works good. Here's the rest of my fuel system. It's a Holley regulator. It's a auto meter, fuel pressure gauge. The transmission, it's AOD. It's got a 9-inch precision 4200 stall with it's a C6 style non-lockup. It's got a billet cover. It's got a heavy duty input shaft. It's got a Silver Fox forward pattern manual valve body with a brake. It's got a wide ratio gear set, and it was built by Detroit Gearbox. It has a B&M supercooler and a deep pan, and the transmission has just been tough as nails, man. It's been awesome. Rich at Detroit Gearbox did a fantastic job building this transmission. The best ET with the car has been an 1185 at 111 with a 157 60 foot. and that was with me launching the trans brake at 4,200 and shifting around 6,200. In my opinion, the car would have run 1170s on the day that I made that 1185 pass. I was having some ignition issues with the car, and it kept breaking up down track, and I finally got that figured out, and the track was getting ready to close, so I was only able to get in 2 more passes, and somehow, I don't know what happened, but I would be going down track, and when I would, the 1-2 shift would be fine, and when I would shift from second to third, the car would fall right on its face. It would not build any RPM. It just was a dog. So I made 2 passes like that, and then I couldn't figure out what it was, and then I finally realized that the overdrive switch had been turned on. So on the last 2 passes, the car was shifting from second to fourth. So it was just killing the motor. So, I mean, hey, you know, these things happen. That's racing. So like I said, the car still ran a personal best that day of 1185, but I definitely believe it would have gone 1170s had I not had the overdrive activated. So, and speaking of transmissions, an upgrade that I'm going to make this winter to the car is I am putting a C4 in it. The AOD's going away. So this is the last season I'll be running a car with the AOD. I bought this C4 from a buddy of mine. It's a pan fill. It's got an SFI bell housing. It's got a scatter shield on it. It's got some internal upgrades to it, a few little goodies here and there. It's got a deep aluminum pan. It's got a broader reverse pattern manual valve body with a trans brake. And I think the converter, it's got an FTI 8-inch converter. And I think the converter is probably going to stall around 5,500 in my car. You'll have to see about that once I get it going. This trans and converter setup went low 9s in my buddy's car. So it's a proven piece. It works. I just have to get it in my car and see what it's going to do. So other plans for the car is over the winter, or in the spring, I'm going to put an 84 style front bumper cover on the car. This one here is kind of beat up, and you can see when it was EFI, I hacked out the headlight bucket in order to run a ram air tube, through the front. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this. I found a really nice front bumper cover on Marketplace. So man, sorry about the wind. I'm outside, as you can tell. I mean, it's cold here in Michigan now. Like I said, it's Black Friday, so it's a little windy today. I apologize for that. But it's got a new front bumper cover, and I'm also putting a new set of fenders on it. These fenders are kind of ratty and beat up, and I actually did a fender lightening project on them. You can see that video on YouTube. It was just trying to find ways to take weight out of the fenders of the car to help lighten up the front end of the car. So, but these fenders are coming off. They got holes in them they must have came off a GT at one point. It's got a dent in it right there. The fender on the driver's side's it's rusting out. So I'm just decided to go ahead and replace the fenders and the front bumper cover while I have an opportunity. So I'm going to set my phone down so I can close the hood up real quick, and we'll talk some more. Okay, so a couple other things. So this car, some of you know this car is the Agent AOD car on Stickman Garage YouTube channel. So go over to Stickman's Garage. You can see a bunch of projects we did on this car. Subscribe to his channel, give him a like, a comment, share it with your friends, and hey, even share it with your enemies if you want. Neil is a super good dude. If you have any questions, he'll do his best to answer your questions for you and help you out. He's been a huge help with this car, and also our good friend Dennis Wingfield was a huge help with this car. Dennis isn't with us anymore, but he had some input on this car, which is kind of funny that it's an automatic car and he had input on it, because he was a devout 5-speed guy. He had no use for automatics. So, but I mean, he provided input, even provided parts for this car at one point. So we were real appreciative to Dennis. So since the car no longer has an AOD in it, we have to come up with a new name for the car. The Agent AOD name really isn't going to fit it if it's got a C4 in it. So we have a name for it. As time goes on here, I will kind of spill the beans on what that's going to be, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But we do have some projects for it. The car right now weighs 2,780 pounds without me in it and 3,000 pounds with me in it. So it will be lighter in the springtime. I have a few weight reduction projects I'm doing on it. So I'll go over those too in some videos and that. So I am, like I said, I'm going to be creating more content for the car, or for the channel rather, over the winter. So you'll see some things and that. And like I said, we'll kind of get into the whole thing about the name change of the car, you know, further down the road here. But I think you guys will get it, and it's got kind of a, you know, kind of a funny backstory to it. So, but that's really it. I know in the past people have tried reaching out to me on my channel about the car, and I was really seemed like I was very slow to respond, or wasn't responding at all. And the issue with that was I wasn't seeing that I was getting the messages. I wasn't getting notifications from YouTube. So my notifications were turned off in my settings. So I got that figured out. So I should see, if you guys are sending me questions or making comments, I should be able to see them now. Another way to reach me, if you want to ask me anything about the car, is you can reach me at black88coupe@yahoo.com. I check that email all the time, so that's a really quick and easy way to get a hold of me. And I will do my best to answer whatever questions you might have about the car. You can tell me how much you like it. You can tell me how much you hate it. Whatever you want to do. But like I said, this is really it for the video. Again, like I said, jump over to Stickman's Garage. Give his channel a subscription. Give him a like. Give him a comment. All that. Neil's a super great dude, and he's had a ton of input on this car, so he's helped me out a bunch. So help him out and go check out his channel. All right, guys. Thanks.